Bud Night for all you youngsters. 15 and under will all get thermal mugs. Some lucky fans Saturday night in giveaway night is going to receive $5,000 worth of pure plutonium.
What was the greatest defensive play in a World Series?
That'll be thermal Bud Night for all you youngsters. 15 and under will all get thermal mugs. Some lucky fans Saturday night in giveaway night is going to receive $5,000 worth of pure plutonium.
What was the greatest defensive play in a World Series? The biggest bad bounce, the best pitching performance, the ultimate hit, Babe Ruth, Mickey Mantle, Reggie Jackson, experts, stats, facts, trivia, and more, as Sport Baseball Video Magazine selects the Fall Classics greatest moments. It's the ultimate moments in the ultimate game. Sport Baseball Video Magazine presents World Series Immortals.
I think it's the culmination of an entire year of sports. Whatever those other sports that come afterwards, I don't care. This is it.
The premier sporting event of the year, without question.
The World Series is fun, and it's stories, and it's wonderful.
The diving stab of a hot shot down the line, the leaping snare of a rising line drive, the bang-bang play that turns the game around. When you come right down to it, defense drives championship teams. They have to do it with 11. So we asked, what was the ultimate defensive play in a World Series game? Our third choice, Ron Swoboda's catch in Game 4 of the 1969 World Series between the New York Mets and the Baltimore Orioles.
While never recognized as a great defensive player, and certainly not a guy who had a lot of other highlights in his career, the more I see the play, the less I can believe he actually made the catch. In the ballpark that day, it was absolutely unbelievable.
The underdog Miracle Mets had forged a 2-1 lead and took a 1-0 lead into the 9th inning of Game 4. With 1 out and birds on the corners, Brooks Robinson sent a Tom Seaver fastball rocketing toward the right center field gap. Suddenly, from nowhere, came Swoboda to make a diving, tumbling catch. New York won the game in extra innings to take an insurmountable 3-1 lead in the series. Brooklyn Dodger fans revere our number 2 choice for greatest defensive play. Yankee Stadium Game 7 1955 series, Dodger manager Walter Alston has made some lineup changes in the 6th inning, which found the little-used Sandy Ambrose inserted into left field. With 2 on and no out, Yogi Berra lifts a long, high fly down the left field line. Ambrose, oblivious to the wall he was closing in on, seemed to run forever and just did make the catch. He then fired to Pee Wee Reese, who was able to double Gil McDougall on first base. Now for the ultimate defensive play in World Series history. The catch, it's called, and it overshadowed all else in the 1954 Giants-Indians series.
And I said, uh-oh, this is it. And from nowhere, just, you know, as if you had watched Mays like I had in those days, seeing him come up in 51, it was just meant to be. I mean, now the world knew what all Giant fans knew, that this guy was a magician in center field and could make the most unbelievable catches of all time.
His was the greatest ability to outrun a ball. But we knew Willie Mays could do that.
Game 1, top of the 8th. The score was tied 2-2. Cleveland had runners on first and second, no outs. Big Vic Wirtz stepped up to the plate and promptly lodged a pitch to the deepest part of the Polo Grounds. Center fielder Willie Mays chewed up real estate as he tracked the drive some 460 feet from home plate. The ball passed over Mays' right shoulder and into the Say Hey Kid's outstretched glove. Mays wheeled and fired the ball back to the infield. He had cut the heart out of the Indians rally, and the Giants went on to win in extra innings on pinch hitter Dusty Rhodes' 270-foot home run. That's a look at the ultimate defense for a single play. How about the ultimate defense for an entire series?
The 78 series, Game 3, that incredible performance by Nettles, which just seemed to double and redouble itself in importance as the game went on. Leaving the ballpark that night, I had the feeling that I had seen something that I would never see again.
Nettles' hot corner heroics turned the series around for the Bronx Bombers after they had dropped games 1 and 2 in Los Angeles. In Game 3, Nettles' diving backhand stops and unflinching courage in the face of hot shots saved at least 5 runs in a 5-1 Yankee win. New York went on to take the next 3 games and the series as Nettles' sparkling glove work repeatedly quelled Dodger rallies. In the number 2 spot, we singled out Roberto Clemente in the 1971 Fall Classic.
Roberto Clemente had the greatest arm I've ever seen. We've debated that. I'm sure people will disagree with that observation, too. But In my estimation, Roberto Clemente had the finest arm from right field I've ever seen in my life.
In right field, he was flawless, catching everything in sight and keeping Oriole base runners at bay with his cannon arm. As if that weren't enough, he also wrapped out 12 hits and had a series average of .414 in the Bucs' 7-game triumph over Baltimore. The ultimate defensive performance in a World Series? By consensus, this pick goes to Brooks Robinson for his one-man show in the 1970 World Series against the Cincinnati Reds.
He just seemed to go out there every day and take a couple runs away from you. Just tremendous.
No one really thought that the Reds were going to have anything other than a cakewalk through that World Series. And I think that the series of plays against great hitters that Robinson made in that series just really deflated the Reds. And it was really the instrumental ingredient in Baltimore winning that World Series. Just a fabulous, fabulous series.
Robinson was a force that would not be denied. In Game 3, he produced 3 more stunning plays in the field and also contributed 2 doubles on offense. For the series, Robinson batted .429 with 2 home runs and 6 RBIs. But it was his impeccable play at third base that had the Reds singing the blues. Who are the big bashers, the top guns, the ultimate World Series sluggers? Chew it over. Texas leaguers, gappers, duck snorts, dingers, grand salami. The litany of offensive terms goes on and on, all of it a colorful and, to outsiders at least, sometimes inscrutable language describing the action at the plate. Well, the jargon's important because offensive baseball is more than just a big swing. Let's take a look at the ultimate series fireworks. What was the greatest offensive performance in a World Series? The choices are numerous, but let's start with John Leonard Pepper Martin, the St. Louis Cardinals' wild horse of the Osage, who ran roughshod over the Philadelphia Athletics in 1931.
Who had ridden to camp that year, training camp, underneath a train as a hobo, trying to make the team. Pepper Martin stole bases. Pepper Martin got home runs. Pepper Martin scored runs. Pepper Martin drove in runs. Pepper Martin made 2 great catches. Pepper Martin dominated the series. Pepper Martin, having come to camp as he did on the underpinnings of a train, gave hope to the little man at a time the little man had no hope.
Pepper Martin so dominated the 1931 series that baseball historians have taken to calling it the Pepper Martin series. Athletics manager Connie Mack was dumbfounded by Martin's display. "What is he hitting?" Mack asked one of his pitchers. Came the reply, "Everything we throw." In the spirit of Pepper Martin, we also honor another St. Louis Cardinal, Lou Brock, for his play in the 1968 World Series between the Cardinals and Detroit Tigers.
The guy could hit with power, steal bases, just about disrupt the whole game by what he did.
Though the Cardinals dropped the 7-game series, losing 3 times to the Tigers' Mickey Lolich, Brock tied Bobby Richardson's series record with 13 hits, tied his own series record with 7 steals, and batted a resounding .464. It's only fitting that Mr. October walk away with our selection for the ultimate offensive performance in a World Series. In 1977, Reggie Jackson ate thunder and spit lightning at the plate against a shell-shocked Los Angeles Dodgers pitching staff. It started in Game 4 when Jackson stroked a double and home run. In Game 5, Jackson homered again. Still, who could have predicted the wonder that would transpire in Game 6?
He did not merely hit home runs. I mean, he hit gargantuan, titanic shots.
Those home runs, one after the other, bang, 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 that was so startling.
Boom, bam, bing, and the last one into the bleachers off Huff.
I'm not entirely sure that the ball he hit off Charlie Huff is still not up there somewhere.
In the 4th inning, with the Yankees down by a run, Jackson lined a Bert Hooton pitch into the right field stands for a 2-run homer. In the bottom of the 5th, he took Elias Sosa downtown. In the bottom of the 8th, it was a flutter bye-bye as Jackson deposited a Charlie Huff knuckleball in the center field bleachers. With that blast, Reggie crossed the river into the promised land. Only Babe Ruth had ever hit 3 home runs in a World Series game. Only Reggie had ever hit 5 home runs in a series. Jackson's series ledger was imposing. In addition to his 5 dingers, he hit .450, scored a record 10 runs, and drove in 8. Next, we try to name the 3 players who delivered the ultimate offensive performance for a World Series career. The names are what you might call the household variety. Third on our list is the aforementioned Mr. October, Reggie Jackson. Reggie played in 5 World Series, posting 10 home runs, 5th on the all-time list, 24 runs batted in, 8th on the all-time series list, a .357 batting average, again 8th on the list, and a .775 slugging average, tops in series history. Next up, the Bambino, Babe Ruth.
Everyone that I talked to who played either with or against Ruth felt, this sounds absurd, but it's true, they felt that their lives had been enriched by the fact that they were on the same field with him.
In 10 World Series, the Sultan of SWAT checks in at number 2 on the home run list with 15, first in home run percentage, 4th in RBIs with 33, and 2nd in slugging average with a .744 mark. But who's number 1? Indisputably, Mickey Mantle.
Being a National League fan, my heart would drop every time he would come up in Ebbets Field.
I think Mantle was just an incomparable World Series performer. Made the great catch in Larson's game, hit titanic home runs.
Mickey Mantle's memorable home run in 1964 and Game 3 off Barney Schultz. I remember it very well because it was the loudest noise I'd ever heard in a ballpark. The crack of the bat was extremely loud. The roar of the crowd was unbelievable. It stayed in my ears for 10 minutes.
Playing in 12 World Series, the Mick ranks first in 5 offensive categories, including home runs and runs batted in, and 2nd in 3 others. The numbers will knock you out. But the Bill James Historical Baseball Abstract points out a more salient fact. In the area of leadership, Mantle stands apart from his peers. Mantle-led Yankees won pennants more consistently than any other team, including the DiMaggio-era Yankees and the Ruth Gehrig Yankees. The abstract also notes that Mantle played brilliantly in great pain and concludes Mickey Mantle was the greatest player of the 50s. Coming up in a special World Series edition of Wild Pitch, the ultimate in World Series bad bounces. Pitch choices for the ultimate bad bounce.
Well, there are 2 times that happened. 1924 over Lindstrom's head. A fellow named Earl McNeely won the 1924 series for Walter Johnson in the 7th game by hitting it over Freddie Lindstrom's head at third base, where he was a rookie, youngest man ever to play in the World Series, playing for the New York Giants. 1960, of course, Bill Verdon's hit that kicked up and took out 3/4 of an Adam's apple of Quebec, hitting off the dirt, opened the door for the Pittsburgh Pirates and Bill Mazeroski's triumphant 9th inning homer in the 1960 series. And of course, there was the non-bounce in 1986 that Bill Buckner is still out there practicing how to get.
When the ball went through his leg, it was like total disbelief. I mean, it was like, gotta be kidding me. Yeah, he's probably made that play in his sleep so many times. Ball never came up, stayed down, and we feel like it was still right there. And it let them back in the ball game, gave them the added confidence that they were at home and had the home crowd, and it's just not a real good feeling. So it takes its toll as a player, even though you've played the game so many times.
The man of the hour was Indian second baseman Bill Wambgans, or Wamby as his name appears in the box scores.
And the man called Wamby made an unassisted triple play, spearing the ball, tagging the base, and then walking over and tagging the man running from first to second, who was just standing there watching all this, because it was so awe-inspiring, and he was struck almost numb.
He executed the, I guess, rarest feat in baseball. It's more rare than a perfect game. He said, everybody remembers my name, but the only thing they remember it for is the unassisted triple play. He said, it's as though I were born the day before that unassisted triple play and died the day after, because nobody remembers anything else.
From fastball to forkball, curve to slider, spitter to brushback, knuckleball to sinker ball, whatever the pitch, just throw strikes is the most pragmatic advice to pitchers of all ages. But throwing strikes is an art. Throwing strikes in the clutch, or the pinch, as Christy Mathewson called it, is a whole other ballgame. In his book, Pitching in a Pinch, Mathewson wrote, "It is in the pinch that the pitcher shows whether or not he is a big leaguer. He must have something besides curves then. He needs a head, and he has to use it. It is the acid test." First, the ultimate single-game performance. When you speak of dominant pitchers, Bob Gibson has to be included. Gibby's greatest single game came in the 1968 series opener against the Detroit Tigers.
The Bob Gibson performance in '68 was the most remarkable thing I ever saw in terms of one pitcher for one game. He looked unhittable that day, and I think the residual effect of it is I tend to remember Bob Gibson as probably the toughest right-hander I ever saw.
Pitted against 31-game winner Denny McLain, Gibson stared down the Bengal batters through heat and notched 17 strikeouts en route to breaking Sandy Koufax's one-game series record. Oh, and he threw a shutout, just for good measure. Our vote for the second greatest single-game pitching performance goes to the smooth lefty Johnny Padres. His two victories in the 1955 World Series keyed the Brooklyn Dodgers' first World Series triumph. His selection here is for his mastery of the rival New York Yankees in Game 7 of that series, when, with the help of Sandy Amoroso's great catch, Padres shut out the Bronx Bombers 2-0, leading the Dodgers to a World Championship. The ultimate pitching performance in a World Series game. You could probably see this coming. 1956 Yankee Stadium, Game 5, New York Yankees versus the Brooklyn Dodgers. With the series tied at 2 games apiece, the Yankees sent Don Larson to the mound and watched him become immortal.
I only saw the last 4 innings of that. We were in class in my grammar school on 155th Street in the Bronx, and one of the sisters, the nuns, came running in with a television, put it down on a desk and said, Don Larson is pitching a perfect game in the 7th inning. And we just stopped class, and we all watched the end of the game.
It was 27 up, 27 down for the Bums, as Don Larson threw only 97 pitches in pitching the first no-hitter and perfect game in World Series history. This against a team that had knocked him out of the box in the 2nd inning of Game 2. There are hits and there are big hits. Think about the ultimate hit in the ultimate event.
And the razzing by the players and the fans, the Chicago fans, became unmerciful. So nobody knows exactly what he did. The count was 2 balls and 2 strikes. After the first strike, he pointed or raised a hand. It's not, it's not clear. Did he just raise a finger, say 1 strike, or was he pointing at Charlie Root, the pitcher, and saying, you son of a bitch, or was he pointing at the Cub dugout? After the second strike, both were called strikes. The count was 2-2. He again made the same gesture. Did he, nobody, was he pointing to Charlie Root? Was he pointing to center field and saying, I'm going to hit one out there? Was he pointing to Guy Bush? Was he pointing to the Cub dugout? Nobody knows for sure. But on the next pitch, he hit it over center field, over the bleachers, into a ticket taker's booth out there, furthest ever been hit in Chicago at that, up to that date. All of the Yankees swear he pointed.
I don't think, and nobody can tell me differently, that he called that home run.
Gehrig swore that he saw him pointing out.
Guy Bush says, Babe, you know you never called that shot. And Ruth's answer, according to Babe Herman, who's still alive and attests to this, is, I know, but it makes a hell of a story, doesn't it, kid?
Ruth changed the story half the time. He said, I was pointing out there, and the other half the time he said, oh, who could do a thing like that?
But you know what? Nobody cares. That's the World Series.
In second place, the shot that's been called the most momentous home run in Red Sox history. The image is burned into baseball fans' memories by now. Reds versus the Red Sox, bottom of the 12th inning, one of the most hotly contested series ever. Score tied 6-6.
Here comes Carlton Fisk to lead off the bottom of the inning. And the cameraman who was supposed to get the shot of the ball, he's up in the green monster with his camera ready to follow the ball. And at that magic moment, a rat decided it was going to take a liking to Lou Gerard's ankle. So the cameraman has just spent his time kicking at the rat, and goes the ball. From the truck it comes, get his reaction. And you come in on Carlton Fisk with the greatest reaction shot in the history of baseball. Carlton Fisk was boogalooing at home, giving it a little body English. It was wonderful. That was a great hit. Made all the greater because we saw it on TV, because some rat had taken a liking to a cameraman's ankle.
For the ultimate hit in the World Series, we go back to 1960 and the round tripper that capped one of the oddest series ever. The New York Yankees had thoroughly dominated the Pittsburgh Pirates in every offensive category. But in between poundings, the Pirates had still captured 3 games to send the series down to the wire. A series of Yankee misadventures gave the Pirates life late in Game 7. Going into the bottom of the ninth inning, the score was tied at 9-all. Pirates second baseman Bill Mazeroski, a good contact hitter with little power, stepped in against Yankee reliever Ralph Terry.
Mazeroski's home run, I guess, was just the, was outcome determinative. It was final, it was authoritative, and the city itself just erupted.
On a 1-0 count, Maz drove a Terry fastball over Forbes Field ivy-covered left field wall. Game and series to the resourceful Pirates. Think about the ultimate World Series moments in your lifetime, and you'll find yourself arguing, hollering, nodding your head furiously, and tossing out facts, stats, and opinions faster than a Nolan Ryan heater. After all, questions like who's the best, what's the greatest, is it the ultimate, are a baseball fan's dreams. This is Jim Carvelis for Sport Baseball Video Magazine. Write to Sport Baseball Video Magazine and tell us what you think of our selections. The next home video edition of Sport Baseball Video Magazine will include these ultimate World Series moments, plus 87 World Series highlights. Sport Baseball Video Magazine.